Number 4, x is equal to -4. So if you want to try that one, you can, but I'm just going to go ahead and try to explain it first. So give me just a second. I'm going to redo my board. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. I think this is number 4, and it looks funny as well. So the equation is x equals -4, and really, that's not a linear equation if you think about it. There's no relationship between what x is and y, and so no matter what, when we're writing this line, no matter what, it's on x -4. Okay, it's all of x -4. It has nothing to do with y. So when you have this come up, and you're going to sometimes have the opposite where it's y equals, and I'll show you what that is here in a minute. But when it's x equals -4, you go to x -4. Here's x -4, 2, 3, 4. It's all of this. Okay, so if you think about what x -4 is, it's this entire point up and down. All right, and so this would be the line x -4. If you remember, I think that I told you, a straight up and down line, when we're talking about slope, it is what we call undefined. Okay, it doesn't really have meaning to it. What that's saying is that there is no time that can be shown. We use graphs to kind of show how things change, increase, decrease, maybe both, up and down through time. But in this problem, x equals -4, it's nothing before and it's nothing after. But on x -4, it's everything. So it really doesn't mean a whole lot. And so we would call this line, an up and down line, undefined. Okay, and what you may need to know is that's not a function. And we're going to move later to different kinds of lines that aren't necessarily linear, straight. And what you're going to see is they can be a function and increase or decrease, but what it can never do is go straight up and down, because that means it's more than one thing at one point in time. Okay, and that can't happen. All right, I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense, but just know x is equal to -4, go to x -4, and it's straight up and down. All right, I looked on this sheet and I didn't really see the opposite. So let's think about what it would be if it was y equals -4. And we're still going to do the same thing. Okay, we're still going to go to y equals -4. So y -4, okay, and it's going to be all of that line. The difference is this is a function. It is a function. It's moving through time. It has 0 slope. All right, now that makes sense actually if you think about it. If we go to y equals mx plus b, all right, this is basically this problem. The slope is not increasing or decreasing, so it's 0. The slope is always attached to the x. -4, that is where it crosses. That's the y-intercept, okay? Now, tell me, what happens when you multiply times 0? It's always 0. It doesn't matter what this number is, no matter what x is. When I times it by 0, it's nothing. And so it really can be shown as we don't show 0. It's nothing. It's not there. So we take it out. Notice what's left. Y equals -4. Okay? So if you ever get an equation where it's just one or the other, x equals or y equals, when it comes to the line, you go to that point and it's all of that line. If it's x, it's going to be an up and down. If it's y, it's going to be a cross. Okay? X equals is not a function. Doesn't really make sense. It's undefined. Y equals is a function. It just doesn't have a slope. All right. So hopefully that made sense. Go back to the sheet. I think you can do all these. Take a look at number 9. Y equals x. That's a function. Let's think about what that is as y equals mx plus b. Y equals x. Remember, there's a number in front of the x. It's a 1. If there's nothing, no y-intercept, that means it crosses at 0. Okay, so what we know is the rise over run is 1 over 1 because the slope is 1, and it crosses at 0. There's 0. Rise 1, it's positive. Rise 1, run 1. Rise 1, run 1. There's your line. So that one looked confusing. Y equals x. Don't forget about slope-intercept form and what those parts mean. All right. So I think you can probably do this entire worksheet now, and there's the answers. So let's look at what else we have here. So I've got some good worksheets for you today. This particular one gives you some explanation, talks about slope-intercept form. So if anything I said didn't make sense, maybe something in here will turn the light bulb on a little better. Notice they have 2 examples. I'm sorry, they have 4 examples here about which ones are slope-intercept form. And really, of these 4, the only one that's in slope-intercept form is example 1. When it comes to the other 3 examples, they're written in what's called standard form. Okay, standard form is where it's x plus or minus y equals a number. And so what we want to do, and that's kind of the next part of this lesson, is when we have a linear equation that's not in slope-intercept form already, we need to change it into slope-intercept form. Okay, so maybe we'll just use this packet for right now and practice some of those. Another reason I like this packet, it walks you through the first couple pages step by step on how to graph it. So you can always look back at that and see visually how to do those. Okay, you should be able to do the first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, verse 12. Now when we get to number 13 is where we have some that's written in standard form. Okay, and so we're going to take a look at that and see how we can manipulate that. Okay, so you may already be able to do it. Basically what you're doing is you're solving for y. Okay, if you've been in my class, you know how to solve equations. So you need to isolate the y, get rid of the 2x. If you want to give that a try, see if you can write it in slope-intercept form first, and then go ahead and graph it. Then we will check out your problems. Okay, you can test yourself. So pause it, come back. Okay, so let's see how you did, or if you weren't sure and just waited, then kind of follow along here, and I think it should make sense. So what you may notice in this linear equation is we have the number x plus y equals the number, okay? And what we want is to get it into slope-intercept form. So we want to get the y alone, okay? Right now, we have 2x on the same side as the y. And so we're going to eliminate the 2x to get y alone, right? So how do you get rid of 2x? You subtract 2x. When you do, it goes away, all right? but we have to keep the equation balanced. Anything I do on one side of the equal sign, I do on the other. Now, I can't actually take 2x's from 2. They're not compatible. Okay, so it just goes over there on that side as a minus 2x. So kind of running out of room over there. And so take a look at that. Y equals 2 minus 2x. Does it look funny? I gotta fix it. It does look funny to me. Okay. So take a look at this, and then take a look at what it should be in, okay? And do you notice anything? What you may notice is the number attached to the x is at the end, and just the whole number is at the beginning. It's kind of the opposite order from what's written up here, okay? So for one, you can just know that the parts are still there, just in the other order, and so you can just pull the parts out from there. Or if you want, you can always rewrite it in the correct order. But what's important to remember is that the sign of the number goes in front of it, okay? And so this 2 is a positive. This 2 is a negative. So if I'm going to rewrite them and put them in the other orders, I need to make sure I get my signs in the right spot. So if I rewrite this, it's going to be y equals a negative 2x plus 2, okay? Because this 2 is positive, this 2 is negative, all right? Or if you want to leave it like this and just say, hey, I know whatever is attached to the x is the slope. Here's the slope, negative 2. This must be my b, all right? Or you can flip it around into the correct order and find the slope and the y-intercept the way, you know, it's supposed to be written. All right, so y-intercept is a positive 2. The slope is a negative 2. Where do we begin? We begin at the y-intercept. We know the line crosses the positive 2. From there, we're following the slope. It's negative, it's decreasing, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Making sure that this line is decreasing, okay? So you just have to manipulate this equation and turn it into y-intercept form. Then it's pretty easy to read. So let's go back.